I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate. We think too much and feel too little. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. All will be lost. Do not despair. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die. Dictators die. And the power they took from the people will return to the people. Will return to the people. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, to do away with greed. Now let us fight to free the world, to fulfill that promise. Let us all unite.
Welcome, folks, to the Corporation Nation radio program. It is Monday, March 10th, 2014. I'm Clint Richardson, your host. And our scheduled guest today appears is not going to be making it. That's a shame. It's actually a requested guest from a couple of the listeners out there. We'll see if we can coax him back here. You know, we'll see what happens. I'll tell you who it is here when we actually get him. So today, I thought it would be fun. You know, I was sort of, well, you know, I want to reiterate to folks that, you know, I'm not a person who claims to know everything. What I do know, I you know, tell you and speak very strongly about. I have sources for much of my information, and every once in a while I'll come out and I will say a declaratory statement that, you know, perhaps I shouldn't. You know, I think everybody's guilty of that every once in a while. So I thought it would be fun to go back, you know, on my blog. I don't know, I got something crazy like 190 posts on my blog now, and they're all very intimate, well thought out, you know, researched, based writings. But I went back a while, and you know, when you actually read what you've wrote from long ago, years, months even, you cringe sometimes, and you realize, gosh, I should not be declaring things. I should not be saying things. I should not pretend that I have a master of some knowledge about something, because you know what I've really realized, especially lately, is that all, you know, even a year ago, the language that I used in some of my writing, I didn't know the meaning of my words. And, you know, that's my favorite little phrase is, you know, if you don't know the meaning of your words mean nothing. I mean, really. So, you know, as we've discussed, we're imprisoned by language, and unfortunately that means we're imprisoned by the words that are often in our own mind. Now, I just released a new blog entry today that sort of covers this, but what it really covers is sort of a trend that's been disturbing me lately. And I'm not going to say any names, I'm not going to point any fingers. It's not the point. It's just something that someone I think needed to say, and so I decided to say it. There is a beautiful, wonderful thing called the trivium and the quadrivium, which refer to the classic liberal arts. You can go to such sites as Jan Irvin's site, triviumeducation.com, and also to several sites that list logical fallacies. If you don't know the logical fallacies, you're going to learn the hard way that you use them all the time. And once you do learn them, you'll learn that the attorney class uses nothing but. You'll learn that government relies absolutely, as well as the advertising industry, absolutely, as well as many radio shows. Sorry, even the alternative media that we like to call ourselves, they like to put forth 90% truth, 10% fallacy, so that you never really learn the truth. Now, if I do that, it's an accident, but there's some trained professionals out there who pretend to be like you and me, the common folk, but are not. And they're trained to misguide. If I do it, I apologize, and I will certainly come back and declare that I was wrong. I have no problem with that. This is one of the reasons I like Deanna Spingola so much, because even though she wrote down her opinion on certain things, she will come back and she will say, I was wrong about that. People who criticize and criticize and criticize, you're a flip-flopper, you're this, but boy, I'll tell you what, I don't want any friends who aren't willing to, including myself, who aren't willing to come around and say that they were wrong, that they were misguided, that they were ill-informed, that they didn't understand the language, or that someone gave them misinformation. So I just released a blog, and it's called, what is it called? I forgot. Weaponizing the Trivium, the Greatest Fallacy. And the reason I titled that, Weaponizing the Trivium, is because that's what people are doing. I've gotten into several arguments with people who are sort of half-cocked on the Trivium, and some people who are teachers of that, who are not being responsible with their own knowledge. And I've discovered that people are actually using the Trivium, which is, by the way, grammar, logic, and rhetoric in that order, by the way, because you can't really be logical with your information unless you have the information first. Thus, you must have grammar. You must think about it logically, and then you must speak. Your rhetoric must be reasonable according to the logic deduced from the grammar. But see, the problem we have, as we've discussed on this show, is that our grammar, the source of our grammar, has been it's just been changed and altered. It's psychobabble. It's many languages thrown together. It's a language of legalese. Remember, the word noun actually means the word name, which actually refers to the artificial status that we put over everything in nature. Okay, this is, how can you have proper grammar and create proper reason and logic and therefore speak with proper rhetoric if your information is coming from a source that wants to deceive? And unfortunately, that makes the purveyors of and the teachers of the Trivium also, unbeknownst to themselves, often deceitful, through no fault other than perhaps a little bit of ego thrown in. And that's what I'm seeing with the Trivium, is a bit of ego. And what's happening is that the Trivium is being used as what I call the greatest fallacy. Because you can really say that, hey, I'm right because I'm using the Trivium. You did not use the Trivium, therefore you're always wrong. Or, you could pretty much use the Trivium as an excuse, if you will, as a way of using almost every single other fallacy by simply invoking the fact that you use the Trivium and someone else does not. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Trivium, it's very, very important. Very important. I suggest you go to Jan Irvin's site, which is Trivium Education, and check it out. Also learn the fallacies. He's got links up there. Once you learn this, I swear it's one of the most important things that you can learn, but you must, as with the Force from Star Wars, as with any power that you garner, you must use it responsibly, and you must use it in a way that helps others, because honestly, the Trivium is one of those weapons that is used on a continuous basis by the Law Society, by government, by the church, to harm people, to rule people, and to govern people, which means to control. Government, mentis, again, the Latin word for mind control, gubernare. Okay, so we're talking about one of the most important understandings that you can have, because with the Trivium you can literally, grasp how you're being manipulated and how you're being controlled. You can see when an attorney will discredit the witness, but not necessarily the message. Therefore, the message goes out with the messenger. These are all parts of the fallacy that we must learn. We'll be back, folks. Stay with us.
First of all, let me take just a moment to thank you for allowing me back into your homes. If this is your first time with us, let me extend a personal invitation. Let's build a happy little cloud. Let's build some happy little trees. There are no limits here. You start out by believing here is a hero world. You're the creator. Find freedom on this campus. Believe that you can do it. Because you can do it.
Welcome back, folks.
Relax.
Here at the Corporation Nation, I'd like to say hello to everybody in the chat room. That's corporationnation.chattango.com. Welcome, everyone. Oh, strange weekend. Like I said, I had a friend die, and way before his time, went to the funeral this weekend, so I'm a little sober today. Anyway, so there's this weird thing going on, and I really don't like it. And of course, the people that aren't going to like to hear me say this are probably the people who really need to realize that this is this is for them. Because, like I said, you can actually use the trivium. Some of the examples I used is you can use it as an ad hominem. You don't have or use the trivium, so you must be wrong. I've just thrown the messenger out with his message. I have no proof that he's wrong. I just say that, oh, you don't know the trivium? I'm not going to talk to you. You're wrong. Poisoning the well is another fallacy, as well as a hasty generalization is also another fallacy. So at one point, you made a guess. Even though you know the trivium, you postulated that something might be true, even though we don't have the facts to establish that truth. Therefore, anything you say in the future is not going to be of the trivium. Therefore, I'm always right and you're always wrong because I have the trivium. I can use it as a red herring. I can use it as an appeal to authority. I use the trivium. Therefore, I have authority in knowledge. I'm always going to be right. You're always going to be wrong. This is what I see happening. And unfortunately, I see people using it to their advantage, just like an attorney might, in just being basically dismissing anyone else from the conversation. Now, someone else might be using their imagination. Science fiction, for instance. Imagine if there was no science fiction, a lot of our science might not exist. Where do you think people come up with ideas? It's not because they're using the trivium. It's because they're thinking outside of the box. Unfortunately, people get trapped inside the trivium box and won't let anybody in. So you develop a doctrine, in other words. You become a church of yourself. You believe in something, and you base that, again, on a set of knowledge that is provided for us by kings and churches. So, we have to be a little bit careful in what we consider to be truth. And again, there's a big difference between the truth and reality. Truth and reality are very, very different concepts. People don't want to hear it. I know, but the truth has nothing to do necessarily with reality. They are opposite concepts. See, a kindergartner, for instance, knows absolutely the truth that Santa Claus is going to come give him gifts every year. He's going to fit down that chimney, and that the Easter Bunny is going to hide eggs for him. Okay, that's the truth of a kindergartner. Is that reality? No, see, it's not reality. Reality is what is, and truth is the perception of what is. If you ask 10 different people their perception, in other words, their truth about 9/11, you might get 10 different truths or perceptions of reality coming your way. So again, what is real? It's pretty tough to say unless you really get down to the nitty-gritty, and you lose your ego. And that's unfortunately what's happening, is the trivium is creating a brand new form of ego that's never been seen before, except maybe in attorneys. It's creating a strange form of ego. And I find this to be probably the worst and most powerful fallacy that there is, because it's a combination of all fallacies boiled into one fallacy, which is, I am trivium, you are not. So that's what I'm saying. For those of you who have no idea what the heck I'm talking about, I do seriously suggest that you go and you check out, again, what that is. Trivium Education is a very good source, triviumeducation.com, and please learn the fallacies, because every notice that you get, every bill, every statement is all based on the fallacy principle stuff that, authority itself is a fallacy. In fact, all authority is a fallacy. That's the interesting part about it. So, anyway, I was going through my blog, and I kind of found some fun stuff that I did, which, I didn't have anybody following me at the time. I was just sort of writing stuff out, hoping people would see it. And it's pretty amazing, actually. I've never advertised. I've done radio and been a guest on shows, but I've never advertised my blog in any way. I don't sell anything on it. There's no advertising. I don't promote. I don't have a blog rule. I don't have anything on there except what I write. And that's the way I like it, and that's the way it's going to stay. So I found this old post. Kind of fun. And it was called the Alternative Reality Test. And again, I wrote this before I really understood what I was actually writing. I didn't understand the difference between positive and negative law, where negative law are your inherent rights. They are negative, so you cannot prove them. So a positive right, which is all that government gives and bestows and forces upon people, that's a positive right. You can prove in court a positive. You can prove the consent. You can prove all of that. But a negative, you see, that's something that God gives. Where we know we can't prove God in a court of law, despite the fact that you can claim to be under God, which nullifies all other law. It's a very interesting dichotomy when you think about it. So when I was writing this, I didn't realize what I was writing, and it turns out what I was writing was the difference between being under the natural law, the law of nature, I should say, and the law of man, mammon, if you will. Mammon, M-A-M-M-O-N, simply means statutory law. So, I'm just going to go over a few of these because they're fun, and it is a test. It's an alternative reality test. That's what it's called. And so, really, you're supposed to be marking. You have two choices here, A or B. Which one would you prefer to have as a sentient being? Would you rather have A, which represents the negative, or B, which represents the positive law? For instance, you can dial 911, hold while you're transferred, wait for the police, get no help, complain about the police, get harassed by the police, stop calling the police, learn self-defense, buy a gun, and then learn to help yourself. Or you can call the police and get an attorney. A or B? Privacy. Your choice is A, privacy, or B, positive law. And I'll go over that list when we get back.
We don't have enough to eat. Sugar children with no shoes on their feet. How's the people living in the street? Oh, there's a solution. He's a rebel and a runner. He's a signal to be free. He's a restless young romantic, wants to run a big machine. He's got a problem with his poisons.
folks. Welcome back. So we're talking about the alternative reality test. Well, we'll just have some fun with it. Now, remember, you're supposed to mark A or B. All right. Which one would you prefer? Would you prefer A, privacy, or B, closed-circuit TV, being on camera, recorded, taped, database, warrantly wiretapped, illegally searched and seized, identity theft, internet records, cookies, reference numbers, records, profiles, documentation, verification, mother's maiden name, social security number, case number, jury duty, civic duty, cashless society, national ID, national medical registry, GPS, OnStar, the U.S. Census, employment history, medical history, criminal background, background check, 2 forms of ID, automatic withdrawal, tax, duty, tax, interest, federal government, federal income tax, IRS, FBI, CIA, police records, fusion centers, unlawful entry, junk mail, spam, mailing list, phone list, cold calls, sales calls, prank calls, advertisements, commercials, sobriety checks, police checkpoints, police brutality, gun confiscations, gun bans, and in general, too much government intervention into individual, state, and personal God-given I'm going to take that out. God-given rights. Which one did you prefer? A or B? Well, which one do you believe exists? A, the police are there to protect and serve. Or B, a police state, police brutality, police beatings, police theft, embezzlement, illegal checkpoints, loss of posse comitatus act. Military can now be used as law enforcement. In other words, loss of right to speak to police only through an attorney, which deletes the 5th and 6th Amendments. Taser to death, don't taser me, bro. Northcom, soldiers on the streets, foreign soldiers in America, militia, vilification. Please hold for the next available officer. The largest street gang in America not required to protect the citizen according to law. Mace, pepper spray, batons, nightsticks, guns, machine guns, microwave weapons, negative energy weapons, SWAT, DEA, ATF, anti-terrorism units, local police, city police, county police, state police, district police, private police, or mercenaries, as we like to call them, traffic police, parking police, donut police, marshals, bounty hunters, homeland security, private security, airport security, the National Guard, and let's not forget peacekeeping forces. A or B, folks? Which one exists in your particular reality? How about the right to bear arms? Now remember, A is a natural right. It's not something that's given to you by a man or by a piece of paper. It's an inherent right. It's, if you will, a natural right of God. So do you believe in the right to bear arms? Or B, gun bans, gun confiscations, gun registry, bullet confiscations, bullet registry, biometric triggers, NRA, search and seizures, loss of the Second Amendment rights, which, again, I should probably correct because I wrote this a while ago. We don't have Second Amendment rights. Remember, the Constitution is a restrictive document of government. Bowling for Columbine and David Koresh at Waco. A or B, folks? Which one's your reality? How about A, patriot, B, terrorism, terrorists, veterans, gun owners, Second Amendment supporters, third-party candidates, Ron Paul supporters, 9/11 truthers, alternative news outlets, civil disobedience activists, protesters, constitutional supporters, quoting the Constitution, carrying the Constitution, are you person, taking pictures, video camera operators, public speakers, peaceful gatherings, peaceful protest, holding a sign, posting a negative flyer, hate speech, thought crime, political and government criticism, and flying a flag upside down to traditionally signify we're in a whole mess of crap. Huh? Which one of those are being called terrorists? 9/11 truth is A. Or B, crazy commie conspiracy theory loving racist white supremacist anti-Semitic hate speech spewing country hating flag burning terrorists. What's your reality? How about diplomacy and peace? Something that government really should be doing, but instead Well, I'll let you decide. Do you believe in A, diplomacy and peace? Is that our reality? Or is reality really answer B? Tariffs, sanctions, restrictions, vetoes, directives, murder, torture, government terrorism, false flag terrorism, economic upheaval, oil and mineral depletion, destruction of infrastructure, bombing, invasion, occupation, war, rendition, genocide, propaganda, lies, Fox News, authorized force, 9/11, 7/7, economic hitman, assassination, staged coups, managed revolutions, a lot of those, fixed elections, voting fraud, Patriot Acts 1 through 3, ignoring the Geneva Conventions, permanent state of emergency, secrecy, subversive activity, agent provocateurs, conspiracies, military expansion, debt for land pacts, land grabs, no-bid contracts, weapons sales, nation building, security grids, United Nations expansion, Zionist expansion to the extreme, Holocaust lies, and a history that's always written by the victors. Which is real for you? A or B? How about sovereignty? We always say, hey, our United States is a sovereign country. So which do you really believe is controlling things? Do you believe A, that the United States is a sovereign nation, blah, 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 blah? Or do you believe B, that what's really happening involves the United Nations, the North American Union, the European Union, North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, Central American Free Trade Agreement, or CAFTA, Organization of American States, OAS, Free Trade Area of Americas, FTAA, the World Government, World Economic Forum, World Trade Organizations, WTO, World Bank Group, International Monetary Fund, or IMF, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, World Health Organization, WHO, World Food Program, United Nations Educational, Science, and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO, International Maritime Organization, United Nations Research Institute and Social Development, International Atomic Energy Agency, United Nations Office for Drug Control and Crime Protections, United Nations Crime and Justice Information Network, International Labor Organization, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, International Center for Prevention of Crime, just not government crime, World Directory of Criminological Resources, Council on Foreign Relations, CFR, Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg Group, Carlyle Group, the New World Order, Open Borders Policy, Globalization, International Affairs, Universal Health Care, International Social Security Administration, Protocols of Zion, Iron Mountain Nationalism, the ever-expanding federal government, and let's not forget the smart grid. I'm curious, which one do you believe exists? Remember, A was sovereignty in the United States. Isn't this fun? Let's talk about race. All you white folks out there, you believe in A, real, natural, equitable diversity, pride, and respect, true natural equality, truly equal rights and self-determination as we all pretend that we have in a militarily occupied country. That's the first choice, A. Or is your reality a little different? B, section B. I know you're all writing A and B down. B is a little different. It's racial profiling, quota laws, equal opportunity, Association of Community Organizations for Reform Now, or ACORN, La Raza, National Council of La Raza, the Washington Office of Latin America, or WOLA, National Immigration Law Center, United Negro College Fund, the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People, Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, Incorporated, American Civil Liberties Union. We've discovered what civil law really is, equal punishment under the law, the ACLU, Poverty and Race Research Action Council, American Jewish Committee, Anti-Defamation League, ADL, Jewish Council for Public Affairs, National Council of Jewish Women, United Jewish Communities, American Association of People with Disabilities, National Disability Rights Network, Consortium of Citizens with Diseases, Catholic Charities USA, National Council of Churches of Christ in the USA, Network is what that's called, a National Catholic School Justice Lobby, Religious Action Center, Center for Community Change, Center for Women Policy Studies, Institute for Women's Policy Research, National Women's Law Center, Women of Vision and Action, National Partnership for Women and Families, Child Welfare League of America, Community Action Partnership, and on and on and on and on and on. But as for rights groups or the increasingly threatened and undermined average working class white male in America, sorry.
Science is simply battling to understand what this unappealing object is all about. What the object is all about.
Information in the form of energy streams in simultaneously through all of our sensory systems in the form of energy. And then it explodes into this enormous collage of what this present moment looks like, what it feels like, and what it sounds like. It explodes into this enormous collage. And in this moment, we are
I take it back. There is one organization in the United States that's for quote-unquote white people. Somehow white people have been all put into some strange, multicolored version of a category, Caucasian. Anyway, we do have the KKK. So I shouldn't have left that out, because, but wait a minute. I forgot. I'm sorry. It was kind of known to be a Jewish front and had a bunch of members that were actually Jewish. Daniel Burroughs, who spent his whole life as a fake leader of the KKK right until it came out that he was Jewish. One of the biggest advocates against the Jews. Yeah, well, all right, okay. That's just one example. That can't be the whole thing. Oh, but wait a minute. There was another Grand Wizard. Turned out to be a homosexual Jew named Jordan Gollop. Of course, that disappeared under the radar real quick. Oh, wait a minute. Now that I think about it, the Southern Poverty Law Center actually admits that many of the KKK boogeymen that were made out to be white racists were actually Jewish. So, yeah. I guess maybe the KKK should go up in one of the Jewish organizations. Sorry, ADL. You may have been able to kick me off my last station. But not this one. Shall we continue? I think we shall. Remember when you used to be able to get things that would last? Remember when furniture, for instance, was new, well built, and durable? Well, that's your A selection. Do you think that nowadays in our society where purposeful obsolescence is built into most of our products so that we repurchase iPhone 1, iPhone 2, iPhone 3, iPhone 4, iPhone 5, iPhone 6, iPhone 7, iPhone 8. I don't know how much they've gotten. I don't do the iPhone thing for that matter. I don't do cell phones anymore. A, new, well-built, and durable. Or B, used, recycled, secondhand, vintage, natural, green, day-old, on-sale, plastic, cheap, economical, disposable, non-reusable, affordable, inexpensive, refurbished, restored, mocked, smartened up, renovated, painted, redecorated, renewed, revamped, fixed up, overhauled, and reassembled. I'll be the first to admit, man, I've got me some IKEA furniture because it's really all I can afford. And it's a piece of crap. I don't dare move it. It'll fall apart. It's particle board. It's literally the wood shavings that were created from other, probably more durable, well-built, new products. Laugh out loud. Here's an easy one. A, quality, or B, quantity. Which is the reality today? How about A, handmade, B, mass-produced and manufactured in foreign factory sweatshops? Which one do you believe? Well, you better go to the mall and look at the tags because you won't find but maybe 10% of things made in the U.S. And, of course, when we look, we find, again, that the malls are pretty much fronts for Jewish or Israeli businesses. Surprisingly, most of the businesses in malls that you see at every mall have, they're massive, great supporters of Israel. Yes, sir. If you were to try to boycott Israel, you pretty much would have to get off the computer right now. You wouldn't be able to listen to me and just about every other product. It's amazing. Wouldn't be able to go drink coffee at Starbucks, I'll tell you that. How about A, value? Made in America. Remember that? We talked about, hilariously, and yet disgustingly, that the products that are being made in federal prisons now have the Made in America stamp on them. So you better not believe what you read. It's kind of like the organic thing. Yeah, we say it's organic, but the FDA allows 70% organic things to be called organic. Sorry. Well, Made in America very well may mean it's made in prison labor farms. So A, now that you know that, is what it maybe used to be, value and Made in America. Your second selection, your second choice in this alternative reality test is B, implied value. Made in China, outsourced, redistributed, imported, sweatshops, indentured servitude, slave labor, prison labor, mass-produced, futures, derivatives, bubbles, monetary devaluation, and quantitative easing. Fractional reserve system, fiat currency, public debt, toxic assets, interest rate fluctuations, inflation and deflation, hyperinflation, hyperdeflation, monopolies, cartels, free market, free trade, stock options, financial crisis, real estate crisis, commercial real estate crisis, economic, which is probably about to happen, economic crisis, banking crisis, derivatives crisis, subprime mortgage crisis, budgets, comprehensive annual financial reports, can't forget those, the American Bankers Association, the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act of 2008, the Troubled Asset Relief Program of called TARP, Cash for Clunkers, remember that? Banker bailouts, resident alien president Barry Soetoro or Barack Hussein Obama. And for what it's worth, hope and change. Yes, hope and change made in America. Remember when we used to conserve and reuse? Well, that's choice A. What do we have? Is that reality or is B? Disposable, recyclable, plastic, throwaway? Or, as the newest sect of the most holy brainwashed likes to call it, green. There's another easy one. A, God-given rights. B, federally mandated privileges. Which do you think you have, folks? A, free speech, or B, free speech zones, which need a permit. A permit for free speech. I was told I needed one of those. How about A, freedom, where you're able to do what you want? And again, we've discussed freedom and what it actually means, that domination of being free. So let's change that, because, again, I wrote this some time ago. Free, or being able to do what you want, as long as you follow the natural law of doing no harm to others or their property, living in harmony with nature. Or B, is this the reality? You're allowed to do temporarily, but only at certain times, on certain days, between the hours of, but not on holidays, and you'll need a permit, but remember, no food or drink, pets, kids, glasses, bikes, fire, guns, nudity, fun, or laughter, no loud noise, or anything non-green allowed. And only in the perimeter of a certain area, but not in the red or blue zone unless otherwise posted, and then not without special permission and a state or county license for special day use, but definitely not overnight. Oh, and please recycle. How about those old concepts? How about those old concepts of freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Gosh, how many times have we covered this? Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. It's a long one because, remember, we're talking about alternative reality. What happens when we go into the legal realm and we join the alternative reality of artificiality and status? What happens? Well, our freedom is dominated. Obviously, freedom becomes a privilege and not a right. Our life, our liberty, and our pursuit of happiness are all privileges which can be taken away. Right? Well, if your reality, if you believe that we still have freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in this country, when we get back, I'm going to read your alternative reality, and you can choose. Stay tuned.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are men. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful. Let us use that power to make this life a wonderful adventure. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world to do away with greed. A world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Do not despair. The hate of men will pass and dictators die. And the power they took from the people will return to the people. Let us all unite.
Welcome back, folks, to the Corporation Nation. I'm Clint Richardson, just going solo today. So again, we're taking the alternative reality test. I know you've all been participating, writing down A or B. So far, you really shouldn't have any in the B category, but, okay, it's kind of a fixed test. All your answers should be A, just so you know. Let's go back here. Freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Let's add property to that, because, of course, people still actually believe that they own property, which is just so funny, because they've registered away and have become the tenants. Happy little tenants. So, do you believe in A, freedom, life, property, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Your inherent negative rights? Or do you believe in B, which is debt, taxes, interest, tariffs, tolls, fines, levies, fees, dues, duties, orders, finance charges, excises, audits, permits, licenses, contracts, wills, laws, illegalities, commandments, articles, rules, regulations, restrictions, requirements, requisites, prerequisites, postrequisites, documentation, obligations, restraints, constraints, options, margins, perimeters, conditions, clauses, tenure, status. Talked a lot about that. Etiquette, protocol, proprietary properties, political correctness, posted limits, speed limits, size limits, weight limits, CCTV, red light cameras, citations, tickets, quotas, discrimination, equal opportunity, code word, sign signals, boundaries, borders, fences, zones, zoning associations, secret societies, memberships, exclusions, excommunications, directives, mandates, sanctions, liabilities, requisition, confiscation, eminent domain, restraint, restraining orders, possession, influence, ownership, control, lawsuits, punishment, capital punishment, jail, detention, psychiatric observation, followed by a psychiatric evaluation, rendition, custody, confinement, captivity, incarceration, imprisonment, arrest, manhunts, warrants, most America's most wanted, one-child policies, eugenics, mandatory abortion, mandatory sterilization, fluoridated water supply, forced inoculation, genocide, ethnic cleansings, required insurance, prescriptions, referrals, waiting lists, denial of care, socialism, fascism, corporatism, nationalism, liberalism, free speech zones, terrorist watch lists, no-fly lists, and, of course, who can forget classified information. A or B, folks? What's it going to be? A or B? How about A? Identity, individualism, self-awareness, and we the people. Do you still believe in all that? Do you believe that exists, or have you become aware of the alternative reality that we live in, which is under B? Identity theft, your name, your social security number, height, weight, gender, eye color, hair color, Facebook, MySpace, your channel, your profile, your stats, your handle, your avatar, your photos, your pics, projected self-image, character, MO, RFID microchips, real ID, national ID card, a barcodes, implantable identification implantable identification microchips, facial recognition software, biometrics, eye scans, retinal scans, thumbprints, forced DNA testing, genetics, cloning, gene splicing, eugenics, transhumanism, mailing lists, email lists, phone lists, contact lists, unauthorized biographies, opinions, beliefs, orthodoxy, faith, brainwashing, re-education, conformity, acceptance, popularity, tradition, convention, obeying the rules, playing the game, running the rat race, your personal self-worth, satire, statistics, numbers, personnel files, and personal files, personal history, personal records, disassociation with reality, a lack of empathy, breast implants, collagen, botulism, makeup, makeover, tattoos, piercing, plastic surgery, facial recognition, reconstruction, liposuction, tummy tucks, nose jobs, augmentation, reduction, lookalikes, metrosexuals, herd mentality, groupthink, sheep, plebes, plebs, commoners, middle class, useless eaters, cannon fodder, pawns, and, of course, this is all uniquely American. Uniquely American, as George Bush said about the woman who worked 4 jobs to feed her family. Uniquely American. A or B? Which one do you think is more realistic in this day and age? Remember romance? Remember love? And you remember, if there ever really was a time when marriage was for love, it was for romance, and in reality, probably marriage isn't the right word, because of course that's a legal concept. But the union between a man and a woman, romance and love, that's A. Is that reality today? Or is B the reality? Dating shows, dating lines, dating personals, dating referrals, dating websites, dating services, online dating, speed dating, e-harmony, cruising, phone sex, bathroom sex, webcams, hookups, porn, child pornography, bathhouses, multiple partners, polygamy. Oh, they know polygamy well here in Utah. Divorce, Las Vegas, wedding, prostitution, cheating, indulgent, sexually transmitted diseases, 3 ways, 4 ways, 5 ways, 6 ways, and at some point, group sex, orgies, loss of family values, the dating game, the bachelor, the bachelorette, the newlywed game, married with children, cheaters, another show on TV, striptease, strip shows, sex arcades, sex shops, sex books, sex sites, sex parties, Madonna and Britney Spears kissing in front of all the children, XXX, S&M, leather, pain, whips and chains, fantasies, prison sex, rape, prison rape, gang rape, rape rooms, ritual sex, tantric sex, sex changes, gay, lesbian, transgender, transvestites. And let's not forget the rampant, unpunished pedophilia by priests and politicians. Oh, no. let's not forget that our courts protect such things. Oh, no. Here's another one for you. Do you believe in reality? It's hard not to, because it is reality. Do you have common sense? Do people around you have common sense? Do they live in the real world? Do they speak the truth? Or do they speak their version of the truth? Well, that's A. Maybe some people, I don't know, for some reason still believe that exists. But is reality actually choice B, which includes reality TV, virtual reality, alternative reality, cyber and computer-generated, Second Life, holographic, 2D, 3D, 4D, online gaming, shopping, dating, chatting, sex, commerce, business, and worlds. All online. Pyramid schemes, perception, presumption, imitation, counterfeit, falsified, simulated, simulacrum, simulation, replicated lies, phony, bogus, sham, pretend, the History Channel, National Geographic News, fake news, Fox News, there he is again, alternative news, propaganda, cartoons, animation, adult programming, distraction, pacing, leading, flicker rates, trance induction, enhanced suggestibility, hypnotic suggestion, Ericksonian techniques, predictive programming, neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, and we'll continue after the break.
Is this real? Or is this rhyme? The world is like a ride. You think it's real? It's the rhyme. We can change it anytime we want. It's only a choice between fear and love. The world is like a ride. You think it's real? It's the rhyme. We can change it anytime we want. It's only a choice between fear and love. Ride goes up and down, round and round. It has thrills and chills, and it's very brightly colored. It's up and down, round and round, and it's very loud.
All right, folks. Welcome back to the Corporation Nation. Speaking of that Corporation Nation, these are some of the ways in which we are induced into believing in alternative realities. Again, choice A, reality, common sense, the real world, and the truth, reality. Or do you think that reality for most people, again, is a flicker rates, trance induction, enhanced suggestibility, hypnotic suggestion, Ericksonian techniques, predictive programming, neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, non-dominant hemisphere programming, referring to the brain, hidden meanings, embedded suggestions, subliminal messaging, emotional transfers, psychological warfare, pre-programmed response adaptation, linking statements, causality bridges, some subconscious manipulation, duplicity, deception, media, magazines, movies, and television with sitcoms, dramas, cop shows, detective shows, Law and Order times, 4? Depicting not in the least what law and order actually is in this country. Romance novels, fiction, science fiction, biographies, autobiographies, ghostwriters, religions, thousands of them, fashion, symbolism, ozone depletion, global warming, global cooling, global change, climate change. One word I can't say on the radio, space aliens, flying saucers, Project Bluebeam, the man on the moon, and an international organization of terrorists who hates America for its freedom. Let me say it again. An international organization of terrorists who hates America for its freedom. Are you kidding? Every time I hear that, I laugh, and I go back to this list, and I remind myself what freedom actually is, to obey the law, and these, what I'm kind of reading, are all legal and the law. Now, we used to have trust. Firm handshake would be all I would need, and we could do business. But now, you see, we have our artificial status. We respect persons. A is trust. B is credit rating, contractual obligations, charters, court-appointed attorneys. Sign them up. Lease, agreements, deeds, bonds, bail, parole, indentured, tattletales, lie detectors, spies, watch lists, cyber spying, surveillance, tailing, wiretapping, foreclosing, repossession, seizures, bankruptcy, debt, hold, and, incarceration. You know, that's enough. Good stuff. Good stuff. Another thing I was looking at was another article that, I think was one of my better little rants. So I'm just going to read a few of these. The title of this one is Religions and Political Parties. What's the difference? Religion and political parties. What's the difference? Well, let's discuss, shall we? Both religions and political parties start out with a corporate charter of beliefs by the leaders of that religion or political party. These charters and beliefs are claimed by both entities to be divinely inspired. Both change these charters and beliefs as the times change, as technology improves, as law requires it, as the people get smarter and are able to read, and as opposing knowledge and books become more accessible to the public at large. Both religions and political parties are registered with the state via their articles of incorporation. Both write and rewrite history, and then edit and interpret their own writings. They are both a form of control, both in political and moral correctness. Members of both fear excommunication and public ridicule for questioning or acting against these chartered beliefs. Political parties make the laws of the land and command consent, while religions teach that members must follow the law of the land as God commands. Both give power to otherwise powerless men who dress in robes and judge all people. Political parties call law the Bible. Religions call the Bible the law. Both must swear upon and to the Bible or God before giving testimony. Both project a public persona that each is separate from the other. Yet both religion and political parties are hopelessly entwined. You must be registered to both to be a member. If you're not registered to both, your voice really doesn't count and your vote is not counted. You're allowed to change political parties or religions at any time, as long as you're in one of them and you aren't thinking for yourself. Or governing yourself, for that matter. Both claim to be transparent and honest, doing their deeds in the light. Yet both are well known to hide some of their deeds in the dark, without disclosure, and even against the very ethics they set for themselves. Excuse me. Both religions and political parties claim to be non-profit, and both avoid taxes on their for-profit ventures. One allows atonement of sin through faith, followed by a probationary good behavior. The other allows atonement of sin through prison or execution, followed by probationary good behavior. And both offer these atoning people free Bibles and religious last rites. Both include many minority races and creeds, and both focus on those cultural differences into one divinely inspired, politically in focus, to the detriment of any minorities who won't consent or believe, or for that matter, majorities. Religions and political parties. Both are non-governmental corporations that heavily influence government and politics. Both have a list of 10 things for which many of their beliefs are influenced in a major way. Yep. Both preach these rights, ethics, morals, laws, and family values virtually nonstop, yet both continuously break their promises to uphold these or live by example. Both have been caught. But I laugh in pain, trust me. Both have been caught many times over in pedophilia-related activities. Both are very protective of this fact and the people involved in these activities. And both have public relations officers to handle the public's outrage at these actions so as to ensure the continuity of the corporations. And both are protected from these crimes and from any major public scrutiny or punishment by the court system, which really is the bar system, the Bar Association and the International Bar Association, and, of course, let's not forget the mainstream media, or, if you will, the true purveyors of public opinion. We'll be back, folks.
Neighbor, welcome again to this neighborhood. I'd like to show you something. You know what this is? Or maybe if I press this button. There are so many things to learn about in this world, and so many people who can help us learn, and so many people who can help us learn. Did you ever grow anything in the garden of your mind? In the garden of your mind. You can grow ideas in the garden of your mind.
Welcome back.
It's good to be here.
You're the Corporation Nation. And we're going to take some phone calls. If you like to call in, it's 1-800-313-9443. That's 1-800-313-9443. Take a few calls before we get out of here. Now, what's funny about political parties and religions is, of course, speaking of pedophilia, they are both the subjects of countless jokes made in poor taste. You know, both rely on the ignorance of their members, their registered voters, with regards to their business-related and political activities. And both despise watchdog groups. Both expect, accept, and rely on donations. Both have leaders that wear expensive suits and receive very good pensions. Both promise hope and change to the poor and working class, but never quite deliver. And this one's very important. These next two, actually, are very important. See, both political parties and religions offer a welfare system that's never quite enough to really make a difference in society, other than to maintain the poverty level. The quote, "In God we trust," is the credo of both. After all, it says so on the thing they both worship the most. Both have national and international rules and codes that they adhere to, against even some of their charters. Both have members who do not question these rules or their leaders for fear of public ostracizing and ridicule. Both have a healthy fear of some of the other well-connected to each other members. Both adhere to strict political correctness in public, yet both talk badly about other members behind their backs, and sometimes even in public forums or elections. Both affect the lives of every person in the world, whether these people are members or not. Both claim that they know what is best for we, the people. Both declare that they are the one and only true way to salvation and redemption. That's very important. Both government and political parties declare loudly that they are the one true and only way to salvation, to remedy. Both promise this eventual salvation from tyranny and evil if only their members will have faith in them and wait patiently for long enough with a little bit of hope. Of course, both have been making this promise for many, many centuries. Both blame every other political party or religion for all the problems in the world. Both influence and help to define and legislate the legal definition of marriage. Both cooperate and promote marriage as a legally binding contract where the state is the third party and legal owner of the fruits or children of that marriage. And both veil this legal contract in God's will and blessing, providing marriage ceremonies and services. Both claim that the Constitution of the United States was divinely inspired, despite the opposite opinions of the personal writings of many, if not all, of those founding fathers or prophets that signed it. Sadly, both believe and falsely preach that the right to congregate in public and worship comes from the Constitution and the Bill of Rights instead of from God himself. Both are effusively and irrevocably supportive of the illegal state of Israel. Both even define Jews as the chosen people. Both are more afraid of AIPAC and the ADL than of the devil himself. Both are heavily influenced by the United Nations. The CIA and other government agencies have infiltrated both. Government regulates both, and yet both pay little or no taxes to government. Now, after all of this, all of these little coincidences, do you still wonder who came up with the concept or the social rule that you should never discuss religion and politics in mixed company? Ah, yes, good times. Well, folks, I don't see any callers. I'm a little surprised. Maybe I've bored people away. Oh, there's one. How about Joe in Missouri? Welcome to the show, Joe.
Clint.
Yo.
Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Let's just get to it, and then I'll shut up. I'm starting to wrestle with a couple ideas that you're definitely all over, so to speak, on this episode. And that is it one little weird group?
Yes.
Well,
yes, to any possible
thing I'm starting to struggle with is there another one, or is each one of us as an individual sort of that other group? But now I will shut up and let you talk.
I mean that's from day one. That's I've been trying to really get across to people that this is an individual battle of the mind. It's a battle of the will. It's a battle of choice. No matter how you look at it, any which way, there's not going to be a revolution of the people, okay? Because the people don't exist. They're artificial. The people is a corporate status assigned to each individual. It's a plural word. You cannot be a people. You must be the people. Therefore, you cannot have an individual voice as the people. It's really as simple as that. If you want rights, well, you're never going to get those from government, because rights in nature or under God and rights in government are two completely opposing forces. One is negative, that's selection A, and one is positive, which is selection B. You cannot have two masters. It's just really as simple as that. If you claim natural rights, you cannot thus claim political rights, because the only thing government can do is to take away natural rights. It's really, unless a government is in perfection with the natural law, unless a government is in perfect harmony and protects the natural law and the natural rights of men, the inherent rights of men, then under no circumstances can government mix with nature. They're two separate, completely different things. I hope that answers your question.
Yep, very good. If you have other callers, I'll ring off. If not, I might ask one more, but...
Go ahead, I got one other caller.
Okay. To follow up on that, I'm still trying to hammer this out for myself a little bit, which is we're definitely talking about one group, and get it, a group as opposed to individuals, who be very designed and mobilized on this thing. And, you know, a lot of times in the media and whatever, or I should say alternative media, we talk about the white group that's fighting that one and this kind of stuff. So, again, not to belabor the point, but I guess what's hard for folks, or me anyways, to work out is you've got a group, they're very designed, they're very organized, and is there anything against that, and how does that all kind of sort out in the sense that, if not, we're all the other group individually? And I know that's belaboring the point, but I'm going to ring off now and let you talk.
Thanks, Joe. Well, I mean, I can only answer to the best of my knowledge, and I realize more than anyone that my knowledge is very limited. I've got a lot to learn about this type of subject. All I can really say is that as far as the group mentality and the organization, it's the same organization, from what I understand, that's been around since the dawn of writing, since the dawn of unspoken law. It's we're in the same system of pledging that was written in the Bible. We're in the same, everything's the same. Gold is being used to control us. Those who are profiting from that control, of course, are the ones who started the gold frenzy, back in the 90s, maybe the 2000s? You know, these... Do you think that GCN and other, who really started pushing this gold thing has not made a fortune from creating a frenzy on metals? I mean, it's just, the whole thing is set up. Again, they're so organized that they fix the price of gold every day in London. You know, the United States has its own office there. So they know what the price is going to be. So the whole thing is just a rigged, organized crime syndicate. And it all requires your participation. That's all I can say.
Derivatives, quantitative easing, trade imbalances, recession, low GDP, nations close to collapsing, and subprime loans, foreclosed homes, and people's taxes spent to bail out too big to fail AAA banks again. Fear levels rising as the US crash seems imminent, having smashed the debt ceiling of 14 trillion. Despite protests and clashes in Athens streets, the IMF imposed structurally unjust programs in Greece, where in fact the term economy entered our language from the Greek oikonomia, meaning household management. Well, how are we managing? Theories abound, but in practice, does anyone actually know what the hell's even happening? Well, it seems we've come to our global auditing, our financial day of reckoning. It's an interesting quandary. Have we invested...
The truth of the matter is that citizenship, to answer that previous question, is citizenship is nothing more than voluntary slavery, voluntary servitude, as is stated in the law. I mean, you can... that's what it says. Look up the word servitude and you won't like it. That's what citizenship is. It's an agreement to serve and to accept protection from government. Of course, protection has a dual meaning. So it's it's funny. So yeah, I mean, you have one big organized group of a very small minority that, like I said before, people don't like to hear this, but they gave us libertarianism. They actually created a political party that thrives itself on being completely unorganized. I mean, that's what they gave us to fight them. The ultimate controlled opposition is Ron Paul and the Libertarian Party. It's sad but true. And again, be offensive if you want. Go look it up. The Libertarian, the Tea Party, Ron Paul was, it's all Koch brothers crap coming from their foundations and being supported by that. So, I mean, think what you want, believe what you want. But again, your salvation, your remedy is not going to come from a group. It's not going to come from a religion or a political party. It's going to come from within. You are the I am. You are the only one that can, step outside of the box that we're all living in. I don't know how else to answer that, obviously. Let's take Richard in Washington. Welcome, sir.
Welcome. I'd like to give some input on that last question. what we have to acknowledge is that we have two ways of approaching things as a group of humans, and that's the herd mentality and or, if we want to remain individuals, the tribal mentality. And the key there is the herd mentality always follows the alpha male or the select alpha group, and the tribal, they have to totally agree into one purpose as each individual contributes to the whole, and that, in that case, they maintain their individuality and accentuate their individuality because they're all working for the same goal and supporting each other to arrive at that goal. Where the herd mentality, all they want to do is join the group. So if we can kind of reestablish people to get onto the individually based tribal mentality, I think we're going to make a lot of strides versus where we're going in the direction we're headed now.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that. I call it the clan mentality, same thing. But one of the hard parts for people with that concept is that we've been so indoctrinated with equal rights and, interracial harmony and all of this stuff. And unfortunately, clans and tribes have always been like people, like colored people, like skinned people. That's the unfortunate reality of it. Now, can you break away from that? It's possible, but you really have to start thinking in different terms, unfortunately, when you start thinking that way. And I agree with you, but there's a very dangerous precedent that's been set in this particular herd mentality society that if anyone tries to break away and actually have a cultural experience with their own race, that is white people anyway, that they're going to be immediately demonized, outlawed, and overtaken. There's so many examples of that have already happened under the martial law of the United States. So it's a fine line to create that, and I don't have any shame in saying this whatsoever. That this has a lot to do with being comfortable around your own race, your own color, whatever the heck you want to call it, people with like minds. Now, can that be a multicultural thing? Maybe. I don't know, honestly. But what they've set up now was not designed for true equality and true multiculturalism. It's designed to take a bunch of minorities and usurp the majority. So that's really, I don't know what else to say on that.
Well, no, I wholeheartedly agree. What I called in about, I think there's a third group besides religion and politics you want to include in today's world, and that's science. Science was supposed to be the discovery of the natural order or the natural, actuality, I guess, the facts of nature. What it's becoming, though, is another group that is beholding to the pharmaceutical, medical establishment and other agenda-driven groups. And so we get this false science that, quote-unquote, is supposed to be telling us all about nature, when in reality it's telling us all about another way to motivate the herd.
Well, as again, they've turned words that describe something into names or statuses. So the word science, the science is a concept. It's not what they did was they turned a concept, scientific discovery into an industry and a status that only, indoctrinated people can join when they get their credential, credentialism. So yeah, you've taken, and we now believe that science, instead of a thing that's devoted to discovering the beauty of what we could do, is now an industry that's devoted to pretty much destroying any possibility for anyone else. And I include the patents industry, the government patent office in that, because of course, once something is created, you can't improve it without going through hell. And I think it's important to note, by the way, that as far as patents go, you can't sell something that you create that is patented, but everybody should know that individually you can build anything you find in the patent. If you find a patent and you can build it as long as you don't sell it. So this is important to know, and what we should be doing is starting some kind of organization that teaches people how to actually look at patents and build from the patent, as long as they're not selling. Even if you're building it and giving it away, the point is individuals cannot be prosecuted for building something that is patented. That's very important for people. The whole patent idea is basically just to monopolize a concept or a design. It's really a bad thing once you understand the nature of it, and especially the fact that government is also listed on most patents, especially in the pharmaceutical industry. Anything else?
Why I called in was all three of these groups basically support themselves with circular reasoning. And what I wanted to ask you the question about, which came first, the chicken or the egg, and we're talking now about prions. You base your knowledge, quote unquote, of prions from the very establishment that is trying to confuse you. My background is scientific research, and I can't figure out, is a prion created after you get the quote unquote environmental effect of whatever you're looking at, or is the prion something that comes before and triggers the environmental effect? And for that reason, I think prions are really a lost leader item.
Well, no, this is why I say people need to read patents and not just go to scientific, sources. When you read the studies of prions and you read the patents, again, they have to reveal things in patents in order that are not revealed elsewhere. In order to truly make a unique idea, you actually have to list the original idea. So I am starting to wonder if prions were ever actually a naturally occurring thing. But what I do know is that the protein structure in your body is designed to receive them. So it's designed or naturally occurring as if it were what you might call a virus. So, I'm still in the learning process with that, but I'll tell you what, I've got a study on that I'm releasing here that's got so many patents in it you won't believe. And, I've heard this before, that people say prions are misleading or not true, and yet all the evidence that I can possibly find, and I'm a hell of a researcher, if I don't say so myself, points to this being the ultimate cause of disease, and they're hiding it. They're not public about it, which is why would they do this and not tell anybody? This has been going on for years, so it's the great open secret that. But
is it the cause or is it the marker of the disease? Is it the indicator?
That's the thing. It's definitely a causal effect. Like I said, the protein structure around cancer gets infiltrated by the foreign infectious prion, and then the protein structure goes away and cancer starts because there's no structure to protect it. I'm sorry we're out of time. Apologize, Richard in Alabama. Call back tomorrow if you like. Thanks for joining me. See ya.